Hare Krishna. Today's topic on Bhagavad Gita is the topic of lust. Lust, of course, is described by Krishna as a very formidable enemy. In fact, the most formidable of all enemies is lust. In the third chapter of Bhagavad Gita, Krishna tells Arjuna, Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samudbhava mahashano mahapapma vidi enam hiha vairanam. That born of the mode of passion, rajagun, the lust inflames the heart, and one is not able to control his desires. And what happens is that chaos ensues. For example, we see in today's society so many partners, they cheat on their partners, or they engage in extramarital or premarital endeavors in sense gratification, sensual pleasure, which of course the sexual desires is the strongest and most formidable. And this creates chaos in our society. Kama esha krodha esha rajaguna samudbhava. So the devotees of the Lord, they get a higher taste by practicing Krishna consciousness. Vishaya vinivartante niraharasya dehinam. By restraining one's senses, by practicing control of the senses within the marriage institution, or as a renounced brahmachari, or one who's practicing celibacy, a monk, or a sannyasi, also a renounced person who is renouncing the world, it's called sannyasi. They practice self-control or celibacy. So in this way, the mind becomes very peaceful, but one needs to have a higher taste. It is not so easy to control the mind and senses. Even Arjuna told Krishna in the 6th chapter on yoga, practicing yoga, dhyana yoga, it's called meditational yoga, chanchala himana Krishna pramati balavadridam, that the mind is chanchala, it is very restless. Pramati is very stubborn. Chanchala himana Krishna pramati balavad. Balavad, the mind is as strong as the wind, Arjuna says. How can I control the mind by this practice? And Krishna tells him, Ashamshaya mahabaho manu durni graham chalam. Abhyasana tukuntaya vairagena chagriyate. That by practicing the process of bhakti yoga, devotion to Krishna, and by practicing renunciation or vairagya or abstinence from not allowing the mind to wander here and there, one can become fixed in self-control. So these are given in the Bhagavad Gita in different places. Amanadvam, adambidvam, ahimsa shantir arjavam, acharyopasanam socham, steryam atma vinigraha, indriyarteshu vairagyam, means to renounce this urge to gratify the senses. And by this way, one can gradually cultivate a peaceful existence, a peaceful mind. Unfortunately, in our modern society today, people become very proud. It's actually encouraged by government officials. Go on, encouraged by so-called professors and scientists and leaders of society, philosophers, scientists, professors, politicians. Go on and gratify your senses. That's what life is all about. Therefore, it is categorized by Krishna in the 16th chapter as a demoniac civilization, or a civilization of dogs and hogs. The dogs and hogs have no self-control. They're simply trying to, at any moment, enjoy their senses. They simply engage in eating, sleeping, mating, and defending, the 4 animal propensities. Ahara nidya bhaya maitunya. But human life is meant for self-control and inquiring into, who am I? What am I? This is the first lesson of Bhagavad Gita, that the soul is eternal. Najayate mriyate, the soul never dies, nor does it take birth again. It is immortal. No one can kill the soul. You can't burn it, wither it by wind, moisten it by water. It is completely separate from the material elements. But by the hand of God, it enters into various wombs, life, birth after birth after birth. Wherever there's death, there's birth, and wherever there's birth, there's death. So this is real wisdom. And by cultivating this knowledge and by practicing this path of bhakti yoga, one can gradually transcend the urges of the mind and senses. One can learn how to control the mind and senses. That is the purpose of human life. And in Krishna consciousness, Krishna is requesting us to take shelter of him. Chetasa sarva karmani mayi sanyasya matpara. He says, become conscious of me. This is the path of bhakti yoga, that we engage our senses in the service of God. We try to gratify Krishna's senses. Krishna is the supreme enjoyer, the real enjoyer. This materialistic idea of indulging in sense gratification, my wife, my children, this and that, property, land, yan mai tunadi griya meri sukami tuchcham. This kind of mindless endeavor to simply enjoy this world, which is, Krishna says, dukhalayam shashvatam, full of unhappiness and is very temporary. After all, time comes and takes everything away. Time in the form of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, kalosmi bharatar shabha, he says, I take everything away. Your family, your house, your everything, properties, sense pleasures, everything goes. So therefore, Krishna is asking Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita to engage fully in devotional service to him, to engage all his mind, manasa deha geho yo kichumora, engage the body, the mind, the family, everything for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna. And then one becomes self-satisfied and he's able to control his senses. Otherwise, there's so much chaos in our modern godless society today. Krishna tells Arjuna in the Bhagavad Gita, Chintama parimeyam cha pralayanta upashritaha, that there's no end to their anxieties, because up until pralaya, up until the end of life, kama paboga parama, their first priority is to try and enjoy unlimited sense pleasure, engaging in all kinds of sense pleasure, which is nothing but lust, gratifying the tongue in different ways, gratifying the belly in so many ways, gratifying the genitals in so many ways. It's like an animalistic society or godless society. Therefore, Krishna tells Arjuna in the 16th chapter, Asuram, Janam Asuram, Janmani Janmani Asuram, Mudha Janmani, that the atheistic or demonic person, Asuram, that they take birth after birth in lower species of life. Mama apraprayava kunteya. They never attain the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Titoyanti adamam gatim. They actually drift downwards or spiral downwards into the lower species of life for many, many births and deaths. We see the examples in the Puranas. The one time Lord Indra, he offended Brihaspati, his guru. He was sometimes quite lusty. Another time, Lord Brahma had created the most beautiful woman, Ahalya, and he had put her as a young child under the care of Gautama Muni. And when she attained puberty, of course, Gautama Muni, he was totally self-controlled, very mystic, powerful yogi. So Lord Brahma received Ahalya from Gautama Muni's ashram, and Lord Brahma was so satisfied with the self-control of this great yogi Muni, he said, "You take her as your wife, the most beautiful creation of Brahma, most beautiful woman." So Lord Indra, he saw this beautiful woman and he decided to seduce her. So he took the form of Gautama Muni, and while Gautama Muni was off doing austerities, he came and seduced her. Of course, she was quite attracted to Indra because he was young and handsome. Gautama Muni is very old sage. And she complied to engage in this illicit behavior. As a result, Indra was cursed to have vaginas all over his body. And Gautama Muni's wife, Ahalya, she was cursed to take birth as stone and perform austerities in the forest, Danda forest for many eons of years. So here is even Lord Indra, a great demigod, succumbing to the influence of the desire to enjoy, the lust factor. And Gautama Muni, of course, he felt sorry. Lord Indra was remorseful and begged forgiveness. And Gautama Muni transformed his vaginas all over his body into eyes. And now Indra has eyes all over his body. So the mind is very impetuous. The senses are very impetuous. But it is like drinking poison. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he would avoid the association of persons who were fond of women, or he would stay very distant from any woman. In this way, he set the example for those in the renounced order of life. Haridas Thakur, of course, was approached by a young prostitute sent by a very envious person called Ramachandra Khan. And when Haridas Thakur was sitting in Benapola, at that time in Bengal, chanting 300,000 names of God every day, he was able to withstand this attraction. Balavan Pasyamaya Strimayo Jaino Dishan. Kapila Dev says, just see my powerful Maya in the form of a woman. Just by the rising of her eyebrows, she can bewilder even the greatest of sages. Srimaya Jaino Yat Karoti Padakrantam, that even the greatest heroes like Napoleon and Julius Caesar, Yat Karoti Padakrantam, when little Cleopatra comes home, they fall at her feet and become controlled. Bruvijimbrena Kevalam, and the eyebrows, the raising of the eyebrows, attraction is so strong. But Haridas Thakur, he was able to control, and actually he converted this young prostitute into a devotee. Just see the power. So that is the power of the holy name. In the age of Kali especially, Kalir Yad Dari Kirtanat, in the age of Kali, the process is the chanting of the holy name of God. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare. Of course, we have to do this chanting under the guidance of a bona fide spiritual master who represents the Guru Parampara, the disciplic succession coming down from Lord Brahma and then revived by Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu 500 years ago, who is God himself, who appeared here in Nadia district of West Bengal. So we have to take shelter of the bona fide representatives of Lord Chaitanya, not that we can simply chant Krishna's names. We get some benefit, but there's so many so-called yogis and gurus who say, oh, Krishna is not God. It's just, some manifestation of the Brahman. And they talk about merging with the Brahman. Shruti Smriti Puranadi Pancharatri Vidir Vidam Aikantiki Harer Bhaktir Upatayayava Kalpate. That those who teach the Shrutis and Smritis without authorization are simply upatayate. They're simply a disturbance to human society. Therefore, we should be careful not to be misguided by false pseudo-yogis, pseudo-incarnations, and pseudo-gurus, because so many are there motivated for simply artha, some economic benefit themselves. So therefore, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's disciples have very clearly and carefully described what is a qualified guru. Vacha Vegam, Manasakroda Vegam, Jiva Vegam, Udaropasta Vegam. Hetan Vegan Yo Vishaheta Dira. Sarvan Apimam Vishishishya. That a one person, a real guru, is one who controls the words to speak, the mind, pushings of the mind, anger, the tongue to taste, udaro, the belly, and the udaro pashta, upashta, the genitals. One who is controlling this line, mind, tongue, belly, genital, he's a bona fide guru and he can accept disciples throughout the world. So in this age of Kali, there are so many false religionists, false swamis, false gurus. Projita Kaitravotra, Dharma Projita Kaitrava, cheating religion, cheating yogis, like that. So we have to be very careful to accept the real, authentic teachers of Sanatan Dharma. And that is the symptom of a bona fide guru, is his mind is controlled. Tapasa brahmacharyena samena cha damena cha tyagena satya sociabhyam yamena niyamena va. One has to perform austerities, tapasya, that everything he eats, fruits, vegetables, he offers to Krishna first. In this way, the mind, when one takes foodstuffs offered to Krishna, when Krishna accepts it, it becomes prasadam, very powerful, and it helps to control the senses, especially the tongue. So this is a very vast and broad process of bhakti yoga, and it begins by this chanting of the Hare Krishna Mahamantra, Nama Chintamani Krishna Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, that this holy name is full of power, full of Shakti. Nama, Nam Namakari Bahudan Nija Sharva Shakti. So when we chant, especially under the guidance of devotees, of real sadhus and devotees, gradually we come to the platform of mode of goodness, sattva guna, where the mind is controlled, where one becomes very simple in his life, and one begins to serve Lord Krishna in a very nice way, always remembering the Lord, his Nam, his Rup, his Leela, and his Guna, his activities, his qualities, his form, and of course, his holy name. So Krishna has supplied us so many pastimes. Veda Vyasadeva, Sukadev Goswami, they've given us the Puranas. In there, there's so many activities of the Lord's incarnations. In the Srimad Bhagavad Purana, we learn about the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, and his transcendental activities in the spiritual world, Goloka Vrindavan. He's dancing with the gopis. He's herding cows. He is living in the house of Mother Yashoda and Nanda Maharaj. He's Nanda Nandana. In this way, our lives will be filled with the transcendental activities and pastimes of Krishna, always glorifying the Lord. The devotees are always glorifying the Lord. And in this way, their mind and senses become very peaceful and satisfied, and they transcend the pushings of the modes of passion and ignorance. So please take shelter of this Krishna consciousness movement, this path of bhakti yoga given by our great Acharya, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada, who is spreading through his Vani, through his words throughout the world. He's spreading this information and instructions for the upliftment of every human being. So thank you very much.